So we're going to talk today about my process. What I mean by that is my process on how I collect my books, where I was just under a year ago, how I'm collecting now, and where I'm going to go with my process in the future. As we know, just under a year ago, I got back into comics after being away for almost 20 years, over 20 years around that time. So when I got back into comics, there was a flood of like excitement within me. Don't get me wrong, that excitement is still there, but I was just over the moon with excitement. And because of that, when I found my LCS, which is Heroes Aren't Hard to Find in Charlotte, and I would go there and I would just, man, I would just buy whatever. I would just buy stuff. And, you know, it was a snowball effect because I noticed each week I would buy something and then I would buy something new, like different. And it would just become a snowball effect until it got to the point where I would buy stuff that I found that really did not like interest me a whole lot as much as I thought it would. But for some reason, I kept buying it. A good example of that, and I hate to say it because I love Captain America, but the Captain America, both books, I ended up buying them and I ended up pulling them every week, but just wasn't reading them. So I'm like, why am I still spending money on this if I'm not reading it? So I was just buying everything, man. I was buying everything under the sun. There was no organization to it at all. And I learned and I realized not long after, I'm like, I have to have some organization to this. I need to know what I have. I need to know what I'm going to get. I need an organization because surprisingly to myself, organization is very important when it comes to collecting comics. You can't just go buy stuff because it'll become very chaotic. So yeah, I was just, man, it was just the most unorganized thing. I wasn't even buying bags and boards at the time. I mean, I was just putting stuff on the shelf and just reading stuff when I could. So fast forward to now, I have become a lot more organized now compared to just under a year ago. One thing I did to help me, become way more organized was I found an app and I downloaded an app, and that's something that we'll get to later on at another time. But the app that I have is just absolutely amazing, and it's free. By the way, it's free. But so now what I do, instead of going to Heroes and just pulling everything, just adding whatever to the pull list, and having my pull list go from this to this and just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and my wallet is just getting this. So instead of just throwing everything on my pull list, what I've started doing within the last few months actually is, rather than throwing everything I see when the preview issues come out, the solicitations come out, and instead of just throwing everything on a pull list, what I'll do is I'll go on the app, and on my pull list on the app, if there's a book that I'm interested in, then I'll put it on that pull list. So that way during that week, I'm still aware of that book. I won't forget it, because when I go into Heroes, I look at the app every time, so I make sure I don't forget anything and whatnot. So, as an example, if there's like an Incredible Hulk book, I'm like, man, that looks cool. I'm gonna put that on my pull list on my app. So this new comic book day, when it comes out, I'll remember to get it. So if I can make it to the second issue, and I'm enjoying the first issue, and I make it to the second issue, I'm like, all right, this has potential. Then if it can make it to the third issue, if I can make it to the third issue, for me, I'm like, you know what? This is good. I'm going to enjoy this. This is going on my pull list at Heroes. So then that gets added. There's been things that I had to pull off, such as the Captain America, for example. And what I'll do now is when I pull something, if it's still of interest, but not a deep love for it, like say for me, Deadpool or Spider-Man or something like that, then I'll pull the single issue, I'll pull them off my pull list, but then I'll just take note and I'll get the trades. And that way I could still enjoy it, but I won't be, worrying about it every single week. And in the long run with the trades, you end up saving money that way, because I guess a trade would typically collect anywhere between 4 to 6 issues on average. And on average, a trade would cost about $20, between 20 and 30 on average. Sometimes less. You can get like for $9 or like $10 or $15. It just varies, But I feel like you still save money that way as opposed to spending $4, $5, $6 in some cases per issue, per book. So you'll definitely save money that way by buying the trades. So I started doing that. So I'm actually in that process of eliminating some books from my pull list at Heroes, so I can pull those off of my list, and then in turn, and some of them I'll get the trade. So then I'll save money that way. And then also, you got to set a budget. You got to set a weekly budget for New Comic Book Day, and that's important as well. So that just kind of keeps you under wraps, and it's just, you could get out of control, man. And I don't know if you're like me, I got a wife. She's already ready to kill me sometimes, I feel like. But you have to set a budget. You have to be organized. And yeah, part of the organization, I would recommend, there's apps out there that helps with the organization. Or if you really want to go old school, which I kind of don't mind myself, is write it all down. Write everything you have. Write it down, what you have on your pull list, what is potential to go on your pull list. So, you check these books out by the first couple of issues. If you like them enough, if it's worth it to you to put on your pull list, hey, there's different ways you can do it, but you just have to be organized. That's probably the biggest thing that I've learned through this whole collecting over the last 10, 11 months. Yeah, so where I plan on going forward with my process is to continue to eliminate some of these books off of my pull list, and then getting a little bit more organized with my trades as opposed to my single issues. So I'm gonna get that a little bit more ironed out, but because I'm in that process now. But once I do, man, once I narrow down my pull list from Heroes, and start getting them trades in, I'm gonna be much happier and less. I don't want to use the word stressed, because stressed is not really the right word. But yeah, I mean, it'll all be it'll just work out that much for me. Now you got to find out the process that works for you. So these are just recommendations, some tips, if you want to take them as that. But yeah, you just have to do. You have to do something. You have to do something. But what works for you, you'll find it. So hope you enjoyed the video. Stay tuned, because I am going to go over that app that I had mentioned a few times. I'm going to go over that, the process that I use with the app, and how that app helps me with my process. So stay tuned for that. And if you enjoyed this video, which I hope you did, go ahead and give it a like, comment, and go ahead and subscribe. Please, by all means. And I will go ahead and also leave you my previous video right here, where I go over my top 3 books of the week for November 2nd, New Comic Book Day. So with that being said, catch you guys later.